last week, and I'm going to be brief on this one, is because we had an epic rally. Now, don't focus what happened today. Focus what happened last week. And one of the defining moments which happened last week is we had the price of Bitcoin creep up to around $64,000. And then what happened shortly thereafter? Coinbase mysteriously went offline, causing the price to drop $4,000 in a matter of minutes. And I did a tweet about this. It really reminds me of the Wojak video of the guy that's saying, "Just dump it." That's what it really is. The guy's in the phone, dump it, Coinbase, dump it. They did. They didn't just do it. They did it again today. Those fucking pricks. But something of note is they were saying that they were experiencing high volume, and hence it must have triggered something over there that they went offline. This is from last week. I don't know what happened today, by the way. Maybe the same thing, but
just some latency issues today, I think. Not really. I don't think it went offline, but some latency issues today is what I read.
Okay, so
yeah, and some more zero balance displays, which is, I think, a key thing for these outages. But anyway, you'll get into that, I'm sure.
They gotta get easy DNS on the horn and hook up with them. Maybe they
can... the mark signal, put it in the sky.
they need better service. But anyways, if you look at the volume, and I remember this specifically, this event in April 2001, the volume in Bitcoin, the volume of Bitcoin being traded that time was immense. I remember seeing the buy and sell, just the spread between the orders of buy and sell was over $1,000. The price of Bitcoin was going up and down very fast, and a lot of exchanges at that time, April 2021, couldn't withstand the volume. The volume this time around, at least from last week, was less than that. So you look at something seems a little strange here. And plus you figure Coinbase has a couple of years, 2.5 years since then, almost 3 years, to improve their efficiency and roll out better hardware and software and so forth. But Dan from the High Hash Rate actually proposed something very interesting. And he was speculating. This is all speculation from him. So don't nail him to the cross if he's wrong. He says that Coinbase does have the capacity to deal with high volume. He just hypothesized that it's the sudden surge in volume that causes issues. He says that they most likely have the ability to deal with it, but all this is just not always online. They ramp up as demand increases. But if there's a sudden surge, that those computers, the hardware, doesn't have an opportunity to scale up and to help them with the sudden surge in volume. So that may be true. I don't know, but it just seems odd that Coinbase, the largest exchange, I think it's past Binance, if not, it's 1 and 2. They're suffering as a result of this. I don't know. And another thing that's interesting, at least from last week, when the price dropped $4,000 in a matter of minutes, why did it drop? Like, sure, a exchange went offline. Does that mean Bitcoin is any less? The fundamentals change? Hell no. It's a fiat company that isn't able to withstand. Like, I don't know. I see that kind of shit. That's fucking nuts. But anyways, we still had an epic rally. We're now approaching, what is it now? Like 68.3 right now, 68.4. We're getting close to the fiat all-time high.
So close.
And it's been a fun ride. People out there, hopefully you're out there enjoying it. And it's a lot of big dick energy, and it's deserved because, like you mentioned at the beginning of the show, we've been taking a beating for the past 2 years and change. Now's the time we could hold our heads high. And there's a lot of those shitcoins that are not in a dog field that are not keeping up with Bitcoin. Look at ETH. Look at Solana. They're all they're all lagging behind. Bitcoin, all the money is coming into it. All the attention's coming to it. It's just too bad that it's the ETFs. I'm pretty sure it is driving a lot of this. I've talked negatively about.
Okay, well, yeah. Why do you say it? Because that was my first question for you. First of all, I want to break some news here. Friend of the show, Wayfaring, is writing a technical piece, I believe, on the Coinbase crashes. And we're going to run it on the CBP website when it's ready. So I'm looking forward to that. He's a very bright guy. And anytime he shares his opinion, I'm a person who's definitely looking to listen and find out what he thinks about, X, Y, or Z. So we're going to run that on the website next few days. That's number one. Number two, I was going to ask you if you're ready to admit the ETFs were a good thing for Bitcoin or not. It doesn't sound like you are. Why not?
It's a short-term look. The price went up as a result of it. It is doing one thing. It's taking a lot of potential on-chain transactions off to something else. I'd prefer to go to something else that is more adjacent to Bitcoin. I don't know what it can be. I'm talking very cryptic right now because potentially it may not even exist. Well, likely it doesn't exist, but that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see some organic people coming in and organically using Bitcoin and buying Bitcoin, and that will help drive these L2s to be ready for prime time. The ETFs, you're essentially giving all this power to them. They're holding on to your Bitcoin and you're asking them to give it back to you at the end. They'll likely give it back to you in the end. But there's a shred of like doubt in my mind, the smallest of doubt that grows by the day that maybe it will not be. What, like hypothetically, what if things go really shitty with the economy and they say you can't take your money of the market? This is potentially could happen. And this would also be your money that's with Bitcoin, with the ETF that is stuck there. So I don't want to give up my keys. And when you buy through an ETF, you are essentially, you don't even have the keys. You're fucking playing with fiat money and having them tie it to the price of Bitcoin. They have the keys. You're saying, here, buy it with this money and you own the keys. They take all of the gain. You take some of the risk. You probably come out okay in the end, but I don't want to deal with probably. I want to deal with guarantees.
I agree. Don't get me wrong. I understand what you're saying. And I agree that the ETF is a suboptimal product for people who want to hold Bitcoin and are, keen on the Bitcoin ethos, for sure. No doubt about that. But then I also think about the stuff that I've seen sort of in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and it's accelerating, that these issuers are adding the spot Bitcoin ETFs to other portfolio strategies like fixed income or defensive strategies or NASDAQ strategies or whatever. And actually, I can't remember now, Macroscope, I think, tweeted this out at the end of the day today that BlackRock just filed another paper with the SEC saying they're going to add this to a few more of their different strategy portfolios. It's going to be in more and more stuff. And I would argue that what you're getting when you have the ETF products, and we talked about this before, but it's worth mentioning again. What you're getting when you have the ETF products isn't just people buying the straight ETF product and losing that same person as far as like a Bitcoin self-custody, like a good Bitcoin citizen. It's not necessarily the case. What you are getting for sure, though, is people who would otherwise not buy the ETF or self-custody the Bitcoin, helping drive the price up. This is the thing that people didn't price in. So when people say the ETF wasn't priced in, yeah, there's a lot of demand on the spot ETF for sure. But what's really going to blow people's brains is when all these little 2 to 5 to 7% allocations and all these other portfolios where these people were never going to buy the spot ETF, never going to buy spot Bitcoin, now they're pushing the price up too. That's the thing that the ETFs are doing that we didn't have priced in before. We didn't think about that. And now that's become a reality. I think I have something with that. Like, do you think that I'm way off base there? Or, like, because I'm with you that this is, like I said, suboptimal if people want to hold spot Bitcoin. But you have to admit that you've expanded the group of marginal buyers now, 1,000-fold, basically, with these ETF products and the way they're available.
Well, let's go down this road. I agree with you there. Now, of those 1,000 times individuals that are now exposed and looking and actually buying this ETF, in terms of a percentage of those would actually turn into, and I'm going to define them, an actual Bitcoiner, somebody that understands the fundamentals, understands that you could put this in cold storage, takes advantage of the cold storage, the stuff that makes Bitcoin Bitcoin, not a fiat Bitcoin, but Bitcoin. What makes Bitcoin Bitcoin? How many of the percentage of those people you think are going to be converted into that? I would say it's going to be extremely low, fraction of a percent. So I'm not talking 1%, a fraction of that 1% would be converted into Bitcoin. They're all there for number go up. A lot of it, I would imagine, is businesses too. That's the real thing that's driving this. It's institutional money that has now, and they have access to buying Bitcoin, and that money comes in, drives the price up because it's a lot of it. But of the people that learn about Bitcoin, understand Bitcoin, and get out of it, out of the fiat system that got us to this point, it's going to be small, very, very small. And that's a disservice, I think.
SB chiming in here in our private Telegram chat does not think the ETFs are that bad for custody. He can make his case next time we have him on. But don't get me.
Name me anywhere that it's a they own, and they don't really own your keys, but let's pretend they do.
Sure.
Name me a situation where somebody owns your keys that is advantageous to the individual.
It's never. It's never.
Correct. And if it's never, that's it. We just established case closed. Next story. Right? That's it. Like, there's nothing you can do to try to convince me or anybody else. Maybe there could be tax advantages, but again, you're playing within the fiat system. The only thing that matters in the end is how many sats you have, not how many dollars you have. And when you're dealing with this fiat system, you're dealing with dollars. I prefer to deal with sats. How many sats do I have? That's what really matters to me.
Could I convince you? This is the one thing I thought about today. could I convince you that it's a good idea to buy the ETF in your retirement, your RSP account, and then take the tax refund you get for putting in your RSP and buying spot with it at the end of the year? Could I convince you that's a good idea? What is the refund you get on your RSP? Is it like 15 or 20%? I forget what it is. It's like
The
pretty high
RSP,
though.
I have no
It
clue.
used to be high. Now I don't really remember now. I kind of want to, I have to look into this because if there's a chance to get like 30% back at the end of a year.
But RSP it's going to be a salary when you take it. So people that don't understand
We take it at the end of your career, right? It's whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know. That's something I never even thought about because I'm not quite there yet. Maybe not.
Do you know? Do you want to hear a story? I'm going to put up my former financial advisor on blast here. About 10 or 12 years ago, it was around the time I met my wife, honestly. I don't know when that was, 12 years ago. I was 25. I'll be 37 this year. So when I met her, I had a retirement account that I had just started with this company called Aligned Capital Partners. And it used to be family-run office. Now it seems that it's been bought by some other people, and I don't recognize any of the names on these emails. 2 weeks ago, I sent them an email because they have like, I don't know, probably $15,000 of mine sitting in an old RSP that I haven't really thought about or done anything with in a long time. I thought, you know what I should do with that? I should buy one of the ETFs with it. I should just pump it all into a Bitcoin ETF. I sent them an email 2 weeks ago, and the EA, the executive assistant, sent me an email back and said that I had to schedule a meeting. And I said, there's no meeting necessary. Here's the ticker symbol. Put it in there. Let me know when it's done. Today, I got an email from a guy named, I'm going to name and shame here, actually.
Oh,
yeah.
No, think about it before you do, just in case.
Yeah. Fine. I won't name him shame. But the guy sent me an email, okay? And he makes the case to me in this email that he will not take trading instructions via email. Fine, I kind of get that. There's probably some rationale there. And he's like, also this is way outside your risk profile. We have to update your profile before we can do anything like this. The amount is too great and the concentration is too great for your current needs. And I wrote the guy back. I said, I'll tell you what, okay? Give me the account number. I'm going to transfer it to Wealthsimple. And he didn't reply. So now what am I down? The first email I sent was February 17th. So what am I down on IBIT since the 17th? 40%, 30%, something like that. Something insane. The number's like enormous. And so I'm going to give this guy a piece of my mind at some point if he doesn't give me that account number tomorrow. This is the kind of thing that a lot of people are probably dealing with, unfortunately. And so this is another thing I think when people say the ETF is like priced in or whatever. I just think there's a lot of people who are going through the motions here, these meetings where people are trying to keep them in these 2 and 10 portfolio allocations. They don't want to they don't want to hand over the keys, no pun intended, to have you manage the account yourself. And you can just do IBIT or one of the other ETF offerings, whichever your provider of choice is, you just put your money there and forget about it for 30 years. I think this is going to start coming too. And it may not start coming yet, but at the end of the year, when you're talking to your neighbor about how your investment account did, and he did 7% and you did 180% in Bitcoin, like that's when it starts happening. Macro Alpha has a word for this, like the neighbor error or something like that. Like everybody is always comparing to their neighbor. I don't think it's an error. I actually think it's a good idea. And the more Bitcoiners there are out there holding spot in cold storage or holding ETF, the more people that will come into the space one way or another as well. And so I like all this stuff. I don't know. I'm getting some good vibes, let's say, from the different things I've seen and heard over the last little while. Here's a question for you. CPPIB is on the story list today. Do you think CPPIB is going to be in any of these Bitcoin products, either directly as an investment strategy or through any of these other offerings in the next 2 years? Because once that happens, right, that's really governments in Bitcoin. And like, if it's not over now, I think it is over now. But if it's not over now, it's sure as shit over then. Is it not? I think this is like possible or guaranteed.
Well, there's already been pensions that have already dedicated some of their allocation towards Bitcoin. They've purchased it for this. So why wouldn't the CPP, the Canada Pension Plan, do the same, which holds, I don't know what the number is, $590 billion, I think is the number last I saw, under assets under management. That's a lot, right? So if they put a portion of that towards Bitcoin, which is very possible in the next little while, yeah, certainly that's within the realm of possibility. Sure. Game changer, again, whatever. it's going to cause me to buy it
Incredibly
at a much more expensive
flat
price.
emotions over there in your basement compared to the emotions in my basement tonight.
I had a stacking goal for 2024, and it's starting to ruin it. Let me tell you, it's making it more difficult for me to get to that point. So, yeah, because the reality is, and I can't speak for everybody, and this is from my very narrow basement viewpoint. If the price of Bitcoin is $15,000, if it is $68,000, which by the way, your block clock seems to be not working, Joey, it's stuck on 67. You should reset it or something.
The price is 67,996.
It's been stuck like that it hasn't updated since we started.
Whatever.
We must have a power outage.
I'll call D and come over. And
no, just unplug it and plug it back in. That's all you got to do. If there was a power outage, that would have stopped it from updating. So for my, the price of Bitcoin, if it's 1568 or 268, it doesn't change a thing for me. I'm not going to change my lifestyle. I'm not going to do a thing to change anything, but I'm just going to keep stacking. That's the reality of it. So I was hoping I could buy it on a sheet. This is obviously outside my control, but now I'm going to have to buy it a little bit more expensive. And it looks like I'm going to buy even more expensive moving forward, unfortunately, but it's not going to change anything. I don't give a fuck. I'm still going to drive my 22-year-old car. I'm going to keep driving that until it's no longer able to drive. I'll be happy doing it. And then I'll get that beige Corolla I always wanted, and I'll drive that thing to the ground too. Nothing changes. That's why for me, I don't care what the fuck the price is. It's another day.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm not planning to sell or trade my Bitcoin. I'm never going back to fiat with that stack. I tried to have this conversation with somebody the other day. They messaged me, I think after last week's show, text message a friend of mine, and he's like, what's your plan to sell? And I'm like, listen, man, you don't get it. Like, I'm not going back to fiat. Like, if the price goes to 100K, you have to put in perspective for people, especially onlookers. What has to happen in the traditional world for the price of Bitcoin to go to $100,000 US? Like, that's a lot of people speculating on a currency product that could uproot the entire global financial system in terms of like where they store their value, what they perceive to be a store of value. You don't go backwards from there. If you look at any currency chart, we're seeing these posts steady today. It's knocking off one currency after another. It's on par now, market cap with silver, Len.
It's give or take. It's either slightly
that's
now.
you don't
whatever.
But you don't go back is what I'm saying. You don't go back to the currency that you traded for that asset when that asset is performing that well, because everyone will eventually want to take that asset. It's hard to explain to people, and there's not many, like I said, not many people I spend time trying to, maybe not convince, but explain my rationale and my thinking when it comes to like the Bitcoin investment strategy. But there's a lot of work to be done on that front. Actually, I'm going to ask Tour that next week. What do you say to people who ask like what the sell strategy is? How do you explain to them that the currency, just isn't the thing that they should be looking at? And we've talked about this before. Everyone kind of knows intrinsically the currency is not the place to park their value. No one holds cash outside of an emergency fund or something, right? Or, if you're one of these people that does like 6 months salary in cash, no one does it. And the reason they don't do it is because now more than ever, everyone is keen to this whole inflation. Everything is going up in price except the currency that's going down in value, blah, blah, blah. Everyone kind of gets it. And they don't seem to get it with Bitcoin, but they're going to at some point because they're going to have no choice. It's just, I would like for a lot of my friends and loved ones to get it before then. And, so far I'm having, middling success. We are doing great with people in the chat though. Listeners and viewers, we made it for them. Yeah.
Yeah. They're orange pilled. Now, for me, and then again, I'll use my own narrow viewpoint of things. I never trading it. Sorry. I hope to never trade it for cash. But there may be a time when I need cash for something to pay a bill. Like, then I could understand then trading it for cash.
Sure.
Ideally, I would love to trade it for either a good or service in the future. But one thing that's is prohibiting me from doing it on a large scale is the capital tax.
Yeah.
That I have to declare with our tax people here, CRA. I don't know where it's like in other parts of the world, but here we pay capital gains tax on selling your Bitcoin if it's a gain or a loss. And you could claim that as a loss. We could talk about that in a bit too.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing that's precluding me from moving forward with selling a lot of it for goods or services. I don't want to deal with the headache of dealing with CRA. But